Let's talk about healing. So, in my inventory, I have a bunch of different healing items. And some of these are more intuitive than others. Rocktails, jellyfish, yeah, bruise, yeah, it's a healing item. Enhanced Excalibur. But at the bottom of my inventory, you might be thinking, Adrenaline Potion, Super Restore, is that a Vuln Bomb? How is that healing? And we'll get to that in a bit. I'm excited to talk about that. But the first thing I want to talk about is just direct healing. I kind of split healing into two categories. You have direct and indirect. So the stuff at the top, the stuff in the middle, uh, these are all direct heals, the intuitive heals. And these all have different upsides and downsides. Um, so I talked about in my last video how I help my clanmates with PVM. I occasionally see a post on Reddit asking for help with damage. Um, I also see people ask about inventories, and what a common question is, what food should I bring? And the answer to that question is going to wildly depend on what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to do God Wars 1 versus a mask at 100 in rage or an extended Slayer task, those are all going to have different sort of healing needs. So the first inventory slot is just a basic piece of food, a rocktail, fish. This is called hard food. And you can see it says heals 2300, Constitution 92. So this is another thing that's kind of hard to show off. I'm maxed on Constitution, but you actually don't get the full healing from your food if you don't meet that Constitution level. So that's something to keep in mind. You don't need food that requires a level higher than your Constitution. If you're like 50 HP or something, you're probably better off using sharks, for example. A Rocktail would cost the same amount, but heal you the same. Is no point really. Um, this heals between all of the sort of direct healing, this will heal the most per click. And that's kind of the first thing to consider, is how much healing am I getting per click? Hard foods, lots of healing per click. Now, what's the downside? Well, if I enter combat with this dummy, you can see I have 83 adrenaline. If I eat this, I lose 10 adrenaline. That is not good. That will gut your rotation. If you need to use an ultimate and you eat, now you can't use that ultimate. What if it was what if you want to use barricade? Well, now you can't barricade. You're just gonna die. So you have to be very cognizant of your adrenaline when you're eating. Hard foods specifically, because the next thing in my inventory, the blue blubber jellyfish, well, the rocktail heals 2300 per inventory. This heals 750 per click. And I have all three different sort of quantities. It's sort of like cakes, but with fish. So you heal less per click, but if you look above, doesn't drain adrenaline. So a lot of people like blue blubber jellyfish or green blubbers as a sort of budget, but predominantly blue blubbers. Because if I enter combat and eat, I don't lose any adrenaline. So that helps. Now the next one, but it's less health per click, so if you get hit really hard because you screwed up a mechanic, this isn't gonna get you to full. So that's the downside, that's the upside. The next one I have, the other kind of dominant healing item that I think I've kind of fallen out because of blubbers are Ceridome and Bruise. And these allow more healing per inventory slot with kind of a moderate amount of healing per click. So these give 1,000 compared to blue blubbers, which are 750. If you multiply that by 3, that's 2,250 for a blue blubber. The rocktail was 2,300. This is 4,000 per inventory slot, and actually, if I go to my bank, there's you can get 6 doses, which are much more expensive. Yeah, 8k versus a 6 dose is 26,000, so that's a pretty steep jump. This is 6,000 per inventory slot. And these are a bit interesting, actually. So, like blue blubbers, as opposed to hard foods, doesn't drain adrenaline. So you can use these and, do your rotation normally. It won't impact your rotation. However, temporarily reduces attack strength, range, magic, necro. So instead of losing damage by lowering your adrenaline, you lose damage by lowering your stats. These are very good to use with overloads once you get overloads unlocked. So I've got holy overloads, but from racks I've got like regular overloads because stat changes are static. They reset every 15 seconds. So you do a bit less damage for 15 seconds, a lot less damage if you start like really chugging them. But you get a lot of healing per inventory slot. So when would I want to use each of these? Well, I like to keep maybe 3 or 4 rocktails on hand for blessing, just because it's more healing per click. These are very good as like, I need a lot of healing now. It will kill your adrenaline if you're in combat, but dying will also kill your damage and adrenaline, because can't deal damage while you're dead. Can't deal damage in Death's Office. So I like to keep a couple of these. Ceridome and Bruise I like for things like Elite Dungeons or Yakamadu, because if you go and do an Elite Dungeon, you kind of have to run between trash every now and then. You got to run back to the bank. They're very good when you're out of combat. So, and Elite Dungeons are like long. So you can see I have 95% adrenaline. The adrenaline dip, or actually, I'll save that for talking about rocktails. The adrenaline, or the stat dip, I should say, from Ceridome and Bruise. Well, if I'm not hitting something, if I have to run 15 seconds to the next trash pack, then all these stats, I'm not going to drink the overload dose because those are kind of expensive, but these will get reset. I'm not losing damage if I'm not attacking anything, so things like Elite Dungeons. In Yakamadu, if you're on CPR duty, you are not hitting the boss anyways, so I like to bring a bunch of 6 doses if I'm on CPR duty at Yakamadu. Because you have to sit there and slowly resuscitate people every now and then. You're not engaged with the boss because you have to do the mechanic. Very good for stuff like that. Long trips or fights with lots of downtime. Hard food, kind of same deal. If you need a lot of healing, again, if I'm at Yakamadu, I might eat a rocktail, because now we can talk about adrenaline. I am out of combat right now. If I eat this, I don't lose adrenaline. So those are also good for like elite dungeons, stuff like that. Blue bloppers are dominantly what you would use during bosses. Now, the other two items I have up here, Enhanced Excalibur. This comes from, I believe, the Sears Catherby Elite Diary. Um, you can get like the base version, I think, from the hards, but the elites give a lot more healing. It's 40 seconds instead of 20. It's a very long regen, and this does share a cooldown with your healing ultimates. Like my Ice Asylum went on cooldown here. But this, unlike Ice Asylum is very expensive adrenaline-wise, 100%. That's 100% adrenaline I'm not using on Death Swiftness or Thresholds or Incendiary. So you really, really want to be using Enhanced Excalibur. Do your diaries, it's worth it. You'll notice how much it helps. The other thing up here is a Blood Reaver, which, um, yeah, 3-second cooldown. If you look at the scroll ability, if you have scrolls, which I do, I have 530 of them, I believe it can store 500. It will heal you a lot. If you're able to get on Ancient Magics, or if you have the Spellbook swap, you can put down Prism of Restoration to heal it up, because you really don't want the thing dying on you. It's expensive and it might hurt your kill. So, Blood Reavers are also a good option. Over here, we have Constitution Cape and Regen Bracelet. These are very good if you're just kind of doing Gate of Validness, because Gate of Validness hurts. There's like a ramping damage over time effect, but you're not in combat. I don't need like a Zuck Cape, or I don't really care about my gloves when I'm in a witness. So lots of extra regen here helps with these items in sort of a fight like that. If you're doing agility and you don't have the agility cape, then Constitution cape can be nice for failing obstacles. Or if you're doing like, actually, you're probably not doing underground pass if you have 99 Constitution, but you know, long quests like that, this could be helpful. Or plagues, or no, Mourners on Part 2, the puzzle section. You kind of get chipped over time by the shades, and stuff like this could help, but again, you probably already have those quests done by the time you get 99 Constitution for the cape. And now we get to the interesting bit. So, what is a Vuln Bomb doing here? What is an adrenaline potion doing here? So there's a big elephant in the room. There's a, gonna take that. There's a very big elephant in the room, and that is this little thing right here. Soul Split. Damage you inflict on your target will regenerate your own life points. So I think I have some potions for Zami Brews, so I can kind of showcase this. So I'm going to make 2 of them real quick. Yeah, so, oh no, I'm taking damage. How do I get HP back? Well, watch that go up. And you can see with just a couple of GCDs, I'm already back to full health. That took like, what, 10-15 seconds? I got half my health back. So let me present a revolutionary idea to you, and I say that a little sarcastically. The damage problem is also the healing problem. Because doing more damage lets you heal more. And if you're getting more off of your soul split, you don't have to eat rocktails and lose adrenaline. You don't have to sit brews and lose stats. You eat less jellyfish, so you don't spend as much per kill. And so all of these items, adrenaline, how does this help me heal? Well, provides 25% adrenaline. That lets me use more abilities. That lets me do more damage. That lets me heal more with Soul Split. Damage items are healing items. Same goes for Vuln Bomb. Same goes for Super Restores, because these let me keep Soul Split up. All these damaging familiars, well, these two are damaging familiars. More crit chance, more damage, the fewer life points the target has, more healing from Soul Split. So, healing problems are also damage problems. And if you don't have Soul Split, get Soul Split. The questline's really not too bad. Actually, it's a fun questline too. But that's aside the point. Pack Yaks, Hellhounds, Pack Yaks are actually a little less relevant. I don't think people use these as much anymore, but you can keep more food, more consumables. You can keep a bunch of extra restores, extra food. Hellhounds will help with healing because you will take less damage. 20% less damage, that's like kind of a lot. Something hits me for 1,000, I only take 800. Well, I don't have to heal as much. So those are all things to consider. Death Ward Nexus. So the other big healing cooldown is Resonance. So you can see right here I have Bone Shield. Do the Necromancy questline, at least get Bone Shield, even if you don't like Necromancy. It's I think I have the greater version, but you just need the lesser version. You really want to be able to use Resonance. Channel power into your shield to block an attack. Blocks the next attack. Heals for 50 to 100% of damage blocked, based on level of shield active. So, if I'm doing Arc Lake or normals, five mechanics, and it goes and does this big fuck you laser, well, I can turn that into a full heal. And if I actually go to Arc Lake, or I can show that off real quick, so I'll reattune the Twin Furies portal from the last video. So let's find the Arc Lake core. We've got all of the mechanics. I will turn off everything but the cannon, just to make it easier to show. Or actually, let's turn Flurry on. Let's see if I can take damage before I eat the cannon, so I'm gonna hit start. And I'm not gonna do a kill here, this is just kind of to showcase just how strong Resonance can be. So, okay, good, we got the Flurry first, so I can take a bunch of damage. And this is gonna take a couple seconds. Should be almost over. Yep. And oh no, I need healing. What am I gonna do? Well, I'm gonna wait for the boss, but it should cannon soon. Yep, here we go. I'm gonna hit Resonance. You can see it's up. Full heal, 5,000 health. That is a big deal. And the Arc Core is not the only boss with a mechanic like that. Yoink. Um, Another good example of a boss like that is the Ambassador. If you get targeted for the big magic projectile, you can drop your prayer and hit resonance to, soak it and get healed for like 4,000 or 5,000. It's kind of nuts in there too. Um, Probably the one downside I would say to Soul Split is one, it's a bit prayer intensive, so 2.1 per second, and you can see my prayer kind of drains really quickly. This is the only thing I even have active, so if I go and put on a damaging prayer, Anguish, 4.3, now this is really starting to drain. Compared to a protection, it's only 3.2. So Soul Split can be very prayer intensive, but, oh, looks like somebody was cluing. Yeah, Soul Split, very strong. But yeah, if you're at a boss, if you're doing like high enrage Art Core or um, maybe a Masket or something, and you really need to be using protection prayers, um, you can kind of Soul Split flick. Um, you can kind of go between healing and mitigating. It's a lot more skill intensive. It requires a lot more APM, more actions per minute. Um, which also means you can screw up a lot easier, die, get one shot by missing a flick, but very worth it. And Soul Split, it's honestly nuts, but why is this important? Well, we have kind of a saying in my friend group that, so this is gonna sound very obvious once it's said, but it's really important. Dealing damage lets you deal more damage. I know, that sounds obvious once you say it, but dealing damage lets you deal more damage. The more damage you deal, the more you get from Soul Split, the less you have to heal, the quicker you can kill the boss, the less you have to chug bruise, um, chug rocktails, spend once on blubbers. So, the damage problem is the healing problem. They're very closely related, and I think that's really the main takeaway from this video. And thanks for watching.